Jim Lee is a titan in the comic book industry. Do you want to find out how his art and creations affected me and my buddy Johnny? Listen to find out more. Hey there, comic fam. Welcome back to Climbing Comics. I'm Alan, and in today's sesh, we'll be going over an artist profile of, I would say, one of my favorite artists, one of the artists that I kind of grew up with when first getting into comics in the 90s. To help me break down who we're going to talk about, well, Jim Lee. We're not bringing Jim Lee on, but to help me break this down, I'll bring my buddy Johnny back onto the show. Hey there,
Hey,
Johnny.
oh man, I'm Jim Lee. No, just kidding. That would be pretty cool if I actually had him on here. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
yes. Don't worry.
Yeah,
I'll put his face on your body just like how I did Chris Claremont.
we're just like working up, we're gonna
Yeah,
slowly work up. This show's gonna gain the traction.
exactly.
Um,
It's that good transition between Claremont and Jim Lee. Hopefully
yeah.
a little bit more smoother this time.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, so Jim Lee, right? So I think like everyone who's our age, like people in the 30s, grew up with Jim Lee being the almost the reason why you would pick up an X-Men book, because all of the cool figure drawing and action that you had there. And for me, that's where I think his career really took off, was with the X-Men stuff.
Hmm.
And then after that, like he went with Todd McFarlane, that crew, to Image, and he did some Wildstorm stuff with them. Some of the Wildcats. That was really
Yeah, yeah.
cool. And then after that, I think there was a bit of hiatus. He came back to DC to do Batman's Hush, which was, of course, a big hit.
Oh, that was really
Yeah.
good.
And then after that, I forget what did between that and then becoming the CCO, like the Chief Creative Officer at DC, which is what he's doing now.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
man. Yeah,
guy got from just being like the normal penciler on a book, became like one of the top guys at the top two publishing companies.
yeah. And he's the head of it, right? So it's pretty amazing from where he started to where he is now. So I
Yeah.
think what are like some of your kind of I guess favorite memories of Jim Lee? Why does he stick out to you as one of your kind of, can I say he's one of your favorite creators and artists?
Yeah, definitely. And like I sort of joke, I think he's everyone's favorite. I mean, even if they, there's like other great ones, I think he's just one of the iconic ones. There's no getting around it.
Yeah.
My favorite one, I would say, is What You Got Behind You. Those two on the wall. X-Men number
These guys
one.
right here?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think it's because the people who made the X-Men cartoon were influenced by Jim Lee's uh, designs. And, granted, Gambit and Colossus and Cyclops,
Mm,
like they all had those outfits before for a while. But I think like when you close your eyes and think of like the 90s X-Men,
yeah.
is Jim Lee's X-Men. And it's funny because I think he only drew X-Men for like, I want to say less than 3 years,
Yeah.
but it's such
So
a big impact.
you don't have to close your eyes. So what we're gonna do here is just kind of go through, I guess, one of Johnny's favorite books, like the ones behind me, but kind of
Yeah.
zoomed in. Like this is so iconic, just going from the X-Men to like kind of the whole this. Did you collect all four of these when you're growing up?
No, man, as a kid, it's like every dollar mattered. And I
Yeah.
only got the
Which
one with
one?
Colossus, Rogue, Psylocke, and Gambit.
Oh, that's a good
Because
one.
because at the
Oh,
time
that's
I'm
one.
like, oh yeah, like these are the coolest people in the X-Men.
Oh yeah, for
Gambit and
sure.
Rogue and Psylocke,
Yeah.
Colossus maybe, but
Man, mon ami, mon
yeah.
ami. Yeah, even the interiors were, it was pretty epic. Like just just if you just look at this, it's pretty epic for what it was in the 90s. It's a very, he had a very distinct art style, right? So if
Oh
you
yeah.
look at Jim Lee type work, you're like, oh yeah, this is Jim Lee. It's
Yeah, the
totally Jim
cross
Lee.
hatching, the detail. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
remember being a kid and like just trying to like copy it, because that's how
Uh-huh.
much I just like enjoyed his work. So, what's your favorite X-Men cover or
All
X-Men
right.
book
Yeah. So
or
let me
Jim Lee
let me
book?
add this back to the stream. So this one was yours, right? This was
Uh,
definitely iconic. But for me, one of the most iconic ones was X-Men, the cover of X-Men 11. Yeah, you have like the whole team. It's very flat though, but it's a very much so how I feel like I remember the 90s kind of being in terms
oh yeah, especially
of
Wolverine being
this.
in front too. It's like we're in the '90s.
Yeah.
Wolverine is like the leader of the X-Men apparently, because
Yeah.
that's how popular he was back in the day, and
And
he
I was
still
just
is.
like really cool. It was really cool how Jubilee was just kind of that laissez-faire kind of
Oh
character.
yeah,
Yeah, that
she's
was really
like,
fun.
I go to the mall and play video games. I'm too cool for this.
Yeah, so I
uh,
have a couple of items queued up. Did you want me to show anything and kind of and you
yeah,
kind of give me some info on it?
yeah. Like I was gonna humble brag. That's one sketch I got from Jim Lee way
Oh,
back in the day. This was
should I
back
bring it
when,
up?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
This is
oh,
back when it's back in 2005, I want to say, back when Batman Hush came out, and seeing
wow.
like Jim Lee's interpretation of like DC characters. I remember how big that was at the time because
That's
I just
amazing.
associated with Marvel, and then he did like Batman and all the Superman, all the Rogues
Wow.
Gallery, and I think like his interpretation of Jim Lee has really like persisted to this day. Like I think even the Arkham games are sort of influenced by this like very elongated face and very pointy
Mm-hmm.
nose, kind of like, and like how the video games Joker has a lot of wrinkles maybe because the show is older, and that sort of reminds me of Jim Lee's like cross hatching that he does. It adds a lot of
Oh,
shadow
okay.
and depth to his
Yeah.
face.
Where
Yeah,
where did you get this again?
this was at Mile High Comics in Concord. This is back in the day before Jim Lee. He wasn't the CCO yet, so he was just like at comic book conventions.
Ah.
And then I went to WonderCon back in 2004, and I stood in
Uh-huh.
line for like a couple hours to get his signature. And then
Nice.
he said, "Hey, you know what? Next weekend I'll be at Mile High Comics, so see me there."
Wow.
And then he was doing sketches for people, and I was like, "Shoot, this is so cool!"
This is awesome. So I will I
Yeah,
will like I will like that. Now you have another like to
yeah.
this.
On my Google Photos.
Yes, on your
I
Google
never,
Photos.
yeah, and I like I don't have a social media, but in this little link, I will see that as liked
Yes,
personally.
yes. Oh man, that's cool.
That was a fun
Really,
one.
really cool. This very much so reminds me of. I'm going to take this off screen and bring us back together again. But this very much so reminds me of, like we talked about this before, where collecting cards in the early '90s was a big thing, and then in 1992 when Jim Lee had his whole set of different cards with all of his characters, I remember having a couple of them. It was really cool. Did you ever collect those? The
Oh
ones that
yeah,
were the
yeah,
Jim Lee art ones?
yeah. And I remember thinking, oh yeah, these are the best. Like they like, compared to the other train cards I got back in the day, like some like DC ones, and thinking, oh, this art's okay. But seeing like Jim Lee do the Marvel Universe was like, okay,
Oh
this is what
gosh,
I look
yeah.
like.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy too is that he does it so fast. Like he's one of the fastest pencilers out there, and it's so counterintuitive because his work is so detailed. But
Yeah.
he does it crazy fast. I remember uh back last year, I think to raise some money for a charity. I forget what the charity was, but he did like one sketch a day, right, for like 60 days.
Oh yeah, 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 I remember that. Those were
Yeah,
going for crazy, crazy money.
I know.
But it
You
was it
really
was good for a
cannot
good
show.
cause. It was for a good cause though.
Yeah, yeah. And he did one of those a day, and those look like it would take someone, I don't know, like hours and hours to do. And
Yeah,
I think it takes him a fraction of what a normal person would do because,
for
you
sure.
know, his experience and I don't know, his skill is nuts.
Yeah, and there I'll bring up. I have a photo of one of the cards.
Oh yeah.
Not to overtake your Joker, but yeah, it's very much so all these different cards with individual characters, team characters. They were just all this style. I remember that this is epitome of 90s, right? And Sentinels, that pink and purple kind of color.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, those.
Oh man, and Wolverine's short too. I always like it when Wolverine's short. I remember hearing a Jim Lee interview and him saying that Hugh Jackman's a great actor and he portrays Wolverine perfectly, but he just wish he wasn't so tall because it's like I think like Jim Lee's kind of like he's like on the shorter side, so I
Yeah.
think like seeing that portrayed in comic books as the most like tough character, being this short guy who's tough.
Yeah.
Like, it was
He's,
sort of spoke to him, I think.
yeah. Like I remember reading a couple of like 180, 181, and them talking about his height and how he's like, what, 5'2", 5'3". It was like pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so do you have any other favorite? Do you have any other favorite covers or anything of that sort from Jim Lee?
Oh, there's those like Batman covers that he did back in the day. I mean, back in the day during the Hush storyline. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
These ones you mean, right?
Yeah. I thought the Superman one.
Are they connecting covers or they're just like opposing covers?
I know they're supposing that Batman one, like these covers I think came years apart because it was Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb who worked on Hush on Batman back in 2005, 2006, and I think he came back like a year or two later to do this Superman storyline with Brian as Razio as I can't say his last name, but I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. I'm not gonna try it, but
yeah, I know.
But it is this Batman Hush they have a statue in Burbank, I believe, that was released in 2019. That's the Jim Lee version of it. It was like a 10-foot tall like statue they had in Burbank. It was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Here is the statue. Have you seen this statue?
No, I haven't before.
Yeah, I think this thing is like 10 feet tall. Yeah.
It's ripped too,
amazing.
man. That Batman's working out.
He totally is. Man.
Yeah. So what are your favorite Jim Lee books, Alan?
Yeah, so I think it's definitely mainly X-Men, right?
Yeah.
It's mainly the X-Men. I think that's, and I haven't read Batman Hush. I've only watched the animated movie of it. But if that's what he's kind of known for the DC books, then I'll definitely check that out. I remember collecting a couple of the Wildcats books as a kid.
Yeah. That didn't quite take off.
It didn't.
This is one of his few non-popular stuff.
Yeah.
But I see you got Samurai Santa there. You got Samurai Santa. You got that in top loader too.
Yeah, so one of his first works was actually Samurai Santa, so I took it off from there, and here it is.
That's right. Oh, and I think I remember you doing a video about this book too. So
yeah,
it's out there.
His first published work. It's a little bit weird of a storyline, and if I look at the art, and I looked at his art right now, I would not be able to tell that this was Jim Lee. But it was a very cool thing to have. I like collecting little pieces of history sometimes. So having the Samurai Santa was a fun one to get. But I'm trying to, I have a couple of books that we got signed at San Diego Comic-Con, but through a proxy of a proxy, right? We sent it through I think your brother-in-law, and your brother-in-law dropped it off at the CGC signing, and we got I got these two signed. So that was pretty cool. I actually wish, I don't know why I didn't just do all four. I don't know why I didn't just do all four.
Because as an investment, it is probably not the best way to use your money. Because
yes, that's true.
I mean, there's a sentimental value there, but usually like it's the more valuable books that get graded and slabs.
Yes, that is very true. That's very true.
Not the one with like 100 million copies out there in the world.
I do remember you brought up like this other X-Men book that you like the cover of, right?
Oh yeah. Are you gonna pull it up?
Yeah, so I think you told me about X-Men
Yeah, that's
268.
right.
Yeah.
And this is sort of a classic one too. I think this came out before 91. And I also wanted to bring this up because like I was wondering like, so what's Jim Lee doing nowadays? Like I think he's too busy to actually do like full on pages of the interiors anymore. So
Hmm.
then what came by his, so like I've seen this one out there. It's kind of neat. It is a collection of his original art. Like you know how you got some of was it Pepe Larraz's or something?
Alvaro Martinez Bueno.
Alvaro
Yeah.
Martinez, yeah, yeah. It's like he kept some of his original art and he scanned it and put it in his book. So I thought that was pretty
Wow.
neat.
That's
Yeah,
cool. That's cool. Like
yeah,
uncolored, just the pencil work. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen like posters that you can buy, like those DC portfolio books. But
Oh
then,
yeah.
yeah, but I think Jimmy nowadays just does covers. Of like DC books mostly. I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Like and then so before we close this out, I had like kind of two questions for you. So what like is there something in your collection that you value the most that's a Jim Lee book? Or is it like your piece of art that you had him sketch? Like what is your when I say Jim Lee, what do you think of?
I would say that art because it was kind of cool meeting him in person. He's like a super nice guy, super
Nice.
humble. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. For
How
me,
about
I
you?
haven't met the guy. I wish I did. Obviously, I've only like, like seen YouTube videos about him, like read up about him, read some history about him, but never really met the guy. But he does sound like a really cool guy, and I would really like to talk to him someday. So that would be nice. And all right, here is our question of the day that we'll probably bring up with every single artist profile that we do. But if you had another chance to meet Jim Lee, what would you have him sketch for you if you had that opportunity?
Oh boy. I would say an X-Men character. Um, maybe Magneto. I think
Oh wow.
because yeah,
Yeah.
because of that cover. Like that's just what I think of when I think of Magneto is that
Yes.
costume and that kind of powerful stance. What about you?
So
What would you have him
I
sketch?
it was a oh man, it was another X-Men character. I'm torn between two. Second place, I would say Wolverine, but he always does Wolverine. I would want his rendition of Storm. Like if he were to bring
Oh
Storm modern day, make a new costume for her or whatever costume like he wants. Because I remember the one in the 90s had like the shoulder pads. It was like a very
yeah,
90s costume for Storm, but she like is one of the coolest characters on the team, I feel like to me, and I'd like to see his modern rendition of Storm. That's what I
yeah,
would ask for.
yeah. Good call. Yeah, Storm is my favorite X-Men too.
Yeah.
X-person.
X person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So for our viewers, for our listeners here today, what of Jim Lee is your favorite piece of work that he's done? Or if you have other opinions about Jim Lee, put that in the comment section below. We'd like to hear from your perspective. And of course, we're gonna probably do a couple more artist profiles in the future. If you want us to do a certain artist or creator, please also put that in the comment section below. So I guess to end this off, from our comic journey to yours, make it your own. Thanks all. Bye.
Bye.